Hello everyone, and welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. Today, I'm just going to do my Wednesday Night Warrior. This week I want to talk about GP Denver. So I went to a GP for the first time in a long time this weekend. One of my goals this year is to either hit bronze or silver, something that I've never even come close to attempting to do. I don't know that I've ever played in more than 2 GPs a year. This will be the first year that I try and really, or in a year being a Magic season, and this will be the first time that I really try and do it, and I'm really excited about it. This was a standard GP, and I kind of want to talk about like my experience and my thoughts on GPs as a whole, as well as my thoughts on GPs moving forward for me. So, let's get this right out of the way. I played Green-Black Delirium with snakes, so Winding Constrictor, Nissa, Rishkar, Verdurous Gearhulk deck, but I played a Grim Flayer, Traverse the Ulvenwald package. And the reason that I did that is, going into this tournament, I did some testing, and every deck didn't feel like it had a huge edge over the field. Zombies had really glaring bad matchups, that's not how it comes across. Every deck felt like it didn't have an edge. Every deck lost to everything, but every deck also beat everything. So, depending on how you constructed your deck, you could make Green-Black beat zombies and mono-red, but then you'd lose to Temur. You could make Temur beat zombies and Green-Black, but then you'd lose to mono-red. You could make zombies beat mono-red and Temur, but then you'd lose to Green-Black. And that's okay, that's a good standard format. But nothing really felt like it was getting an edge. I knew I wanted to play a mid-range deck, and I knew that I wanted to give myself a chance in every match. So one of the things that I started with is like the Brad Nelson, Green-Black, Sylvan Advocate deck, and very quickly I realized I didn't want to play that version of the deck. And the reason is because I wanted to be a little bit more land light with traverses so that I was more threat dense in the late game than my opponents. So by playing Traverse the Ulvenwald, I got to draw more like action spells than my opponent. While Traverse is this early fetch land basically, it's just like another Evolving Wilds in the early game. In the late game, it becomes this very powerful effect where I can either go get a Verdurous Gearhulk or a Walking Ballista or a Rishkar or a Kalitas or a Tireless Tracker, whatever I needed to be, I was able to do that. And the reason that I wanted to do that is just because everything felt so even, I wanted to give myself the best chance to win over a long, even game. And it worked out pretty well. So I went 11-4 at the tournament, 6-3 day 1, 5-1 day 2, locking myself in for 2 pro points to start the season. And when you're trying to chase bronze or silver, like 2-point finishes are kind of where you have to be. So it was a really good tournament for me and something that I really enjoyed. And the preparation was also really fun. I have never been a Grand Prix player. I've always been a PTQ grinder and then played in events that were near me, whether it was an SCG or maybe a Grand Prix really close. And I've always said that if you want to get on the Pro Tour, Grand Prix are the way to do it. You get more shots, and top 8 GPs is a great way to catapult yourself into a position where you can get silver. And even just like winning a PTQ and then attending a bunch of Grand Prix is a great way to lock in silver, which gets you more Pro Tour invites, which gets you closer to gold. And I've always said it, I've always known that was the way to do it, but I've never been in a situation where I felt like I could. The times that I wanted to do it, either I didn't have a great job, or I was just getting married, or my wife was pregnant, and now this year I've had a kid, I have a really good job now, and I really wanted to take the opportunity to see what I could do, and see if I can do what my co-hosts are doing, which is attending all these Grand Prix and trying to grind pro points, and this was a really good start to that. And it was really enjoyable to see preparation pay off. Most of my preparation was between Green, Black, and Ramp. Ended up taking both of the decks to the tournament, deciding late at night, I'm just going to play Green Black. I think that it is the safe choice in a format like this. And I think I got rewarded for that. I think I got rewarded for my deck choice. I saw other Green Black decks with similar game plans, specifically Traverse game plans at the top tables next to me. And it was a really enjoyable event to both see my preparation pay off and be around people who have similar mindsets to me. You know, when you go to PPTQs, people are starting to play competitive Magic, right? You know, I've already played on the Pro Tour. I've already cashed Grand Prix. I feel like I need more competition. You know, and the Grand Prix circuit is probably the way for me to do that if I want that. And it was really fun and cool to get to experience that. You know, I didn't take this like GP Vegas, for example. When I went to GP Vegas, I was going on a Vegas trip. I wasn't going on a Grand Prix trip. And my mindset going into Vegas and my mindset going into GP Denver were just so different. You know, when I went to GP San Jose, I did it because I had buys. I just had 2 buys, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to this Grand Prix because I had won a GPT for it. And I didn't have the mindset that I had going into Denver, and changing that mindset was really cool and fun. Having a different mindset going into a tournament. When you go into a PPTQ, there's going to be a PPTQ next weekend. When you go to a Grand Prix, you know, you got, how many Grand Prix do you go to a year? For me, it might be 6, 7, 8 Grand Prix this year, this season, and that's different than PPTQs. It reminded me a lot of that old PTQ feeling that I used to love so much when I used to go to old school PTQs, and I really missed that feeling. Honestly, to be honest, I've thought a lot about quitting Magic over the last little while, and having this feeling from a Magic tournament that I got from this GP changes that completely. It makes me want to go to more GPs, try and get bronze or silver so that I can stop going to PPTQs and start focusing on the tournaments that I really enjoy, right? Those RPTQs, those GPs, try and get on the Pro Tour, and it was really fun. And if you're a competitive player trying to grind these weekend events like PPTQs, I encourage you to join me in trying to maybe hit bronze, shoot for silver, maybe hit bronze, and end the PPTQ grind and really try and make plant a stake in the ground and do something better. One thing also that I want to talk about is the Grand Prix experience. So oftentimes there's been Magic articles written about how players really feel the grind, where it's like, I'm in the airport, then I'm all of a sudden, then I'm in my hotel, then I'm in the convention center, then I'm in the airport, then I'm at home, and it's just a grind. And I encourage people not to approach Grand Prix like that. You know, we went out to amazing places to eat. I had one of the better burgers I've had. I had amazing drinks. Just try to experience a little bit of Denver rather than just going to the convention center. I'm always surprised when people are like, yeah, I have to go to I'm going to the convention center on Friday. Do you want to meet there? I'm like, I'm not going to the convention center on Friday. I'm going to go out. I'm going to enjoy myself before the Grand Prix. And I think that's the correct way to do it because, first of all, you're like going and grinding last chance qualifiers. I don't actually know what they're called. Like the tournaments that get you buys, right? Like going and grinding 5 of those sounds like a terrible Friday when like you're playing 6 matches to win 2. Just go win your 2 matches and go enjoy the city and relax before your Grand Prix, right? If your flight lands early, like go do something because otherwise your experience is going to be being in a convention center for literally 72 hours? Like that sounds terrible. And one of the things that I know that Danny and Michael have done really well is they've really tried to experience the places that they go. And I know Alex, the other Silver Pro in Utah, does that. And I want to embrace that. I want to enjoy these trips and, play Magic, see the world is something that Paulo has talked about in some of his articles, and it's something that I want to experience, right? Like, when I went to Canada for the Pro Tour, I wanted to experience part of Canada. There were pros that were going to the Taylor Swift concert that was in town that weekend. I wanted to experience the food. We, looked at the best restaurants. We always, whenever we go out anywhere, we try and experience the food and the different places that are only in that city. Because if you don't do that, the convention center is not any different than any other convention center. But the city is different than the other cities. And I think that's a really important thing that people are missing. So that was kind of my experience this weekend. I had amazing drinks. I had amazing food. I got hanging with some amazing people. I got a couple of pro points. And I really enjoyed going back to a feeling like the old school PTQs rather than the feeling I get at PPTQs. And I'm going to keep doing this. I really enjoyed myself. I was sad not to cash. I had the same record as most people that cash. Unfortunately, because of having a baby, I didn't get to play a lot of Magic last year. So I only had one bye going into this Grand Prix. Hopefully I'll get two by the middle of the season. If I had had two buys, I definitely would have cashed because my tiebreakers would have been that much better. But it was a good weekend, and it was something that I really enjoyed. So if you want to see my deck list, let's just go over the deck list. So we played, the deck list that I played at the Grand Prix was 4 Grim Flayer, 1 Kalitas, and if you actually look, you can see it on your screen. 2 Rishkar Peema Renegade, 2 Tireless Tracker, 2 Verdurous Gearhulk, 4 Walking Ballista, 4 Winding Constrictor, 1 Blossoming Defense, 4 Fatal Push, 3 Grasp of Darkness, 1 Liliana the Last Hope, 4 Nissa Voice of Zendikar, 2 Never Return, 4 Traverse the Ulvenwald, 22 lands being 4 Blooming Marsh, 3 Evolving Wilds, 5 Forest, 1 Hashep Oasis, 4 Hissing Quagmire, and 5 Swamp. The sideboard was 1 Skysovereign Consul Flagship, 2 Dreamstealer, 1 Kalitas, 1 Tireless Tracker, 1 Blossoming Defense, 1 Grasp of Darkness, 2 Ob Nixilis Reignited, 3 Transgress the Mind, and 3 Yahenni's Expertise. So one thing about this deck is it actually was pretty hard to play. I think I made a lot of mistakes. Two of my losses in day one, I didn't get to play Magic. I had a game where I mulliganed to 4, and then a game where I didn't draw a single land. Actually, I didn't draw a single land in the entire match. And then my second loss in the day, I also didn't get to play any Magic. I got extremely flooded. But my third loss in the day, on day 1, I made some misplays. And, going into day 2, I noticed some fatigue in my gameplay. And this is from me not playing Grand Prix, right? So I'll play PPTQs, right, which are like 5 to 6 rounds, in addition to a top 8, and that's just one day of Magic that's maybe 9 rounds, right? But day 1 is always 9 rounds, and then day 2 is an additional, 6 rounds. And man, I was so Magic fatigued from this experience. And I'm sitting there across from my opponent. He's a Gold Pro, I think Brandon Ayers is his name. And we're talking about it, and I was like, man, I really need to play more Grand Prix. I find myself making pretty terrible plays right now just from being mentally exhausted, right? There was a play where I cast a Rishkar, targeted a Walking Ballista and the Rishkar, and in response my opponent killed the Rishkar with a trigger on the stack. And I binned the Rishkar, and I looked at my hand with the other Walking Ballista, and I was like, and a Nissa, and I was like, man, I just punted so hard. I could have, with this trigger on the stack, tapped the Walking Ballista that already had the counter on it because the Rishkar's in play to float the mana to play the other Walking Ballista. But I was fatigued. I just wasn't thinking about the fact that that this interaction existed. And that's a real problem, right? Like when you're comfortable with your deck and you're not making optimal plays because of the length of these rounds, the amount of time that you spend, right? So like every round in a Grand Prix goes like 16 minutes over, and then there's an additional, 5 to 10 minutes before pairings are posted again. Like every round is like an hour and 10 minutes. Maybe even longer, maybe an hour and 20. And by the end of the day, like you are just beat. And I really felt that at this Grand Prix because I don't play in Grand Prix right now. I'm going to start, but when you play a deck like this, right, where you have so many lines of decision, how you sequence your spells is so important. I just found myself, mentally exhausted by the end of the day. So if you're going to play this deck at an event, I highly recommend getting some reps in it so you know the interactions and things like that. One of the things I would change about the deck, I would add at least 1 Ifnir Deadlands. I think that the power of Hashep Oasis, I won multiple games with it. It's really in there because of the Dreamstealer sideboard plan. But I think that even seeing how easy it was on my mana, I would definitely play a Deadlands to either increase the number of things to sack to your Oasis or to increase the number of things to sack to Deadlands. I think that just these spell lands are almost free in the deck. And I had a pretty good matchup against Mono Red, so I wasn't too worried about it. As far as other things, I did lose to Mardu once. I lost to a Vehicles deck once, and Ishkana was cut from my sideboard because I didn't expect to see too much of it. If you expect to see Mardu, I would play the Ishkana. Probably over the third, Yahenni's Expertise. The Dreamstealers, I boarded in one time, but I did win a game with them, and I think that the Cyber Planet Dreamstealer and Blossoming Defense with Hashep Oasis, and as well as, the overall Winding Constrictor, Rishkar, Nissa game plan is actually really powerful, and I really enjoyed it when I had it in play. Overall, I really enjoy the deck. I think that you'll have to be conscious of your delirium when you're sequencing your spells. Oftentimes you might play lands in a different sequence than you think you would to easily enable your delirium. Also, the number of times where you just play a Walking Ballista, kill one little thing just to get it into your graveyard is pretty high. The Liliana was complete gas. I really wish that I could fit another one in the main deck. I think that's basically it. Kalitas was pretty good. That's one of the reasons that you'll see 4 Fatal Push in the main rather than 4 Grasp. You board in the Grasp a lot. I almost wish that one of the Never to Returns had been a murder instead. That's something to think about. But overall, really liked the deck, really liked the event. That's my overall impressions. This is a very different video than the typical Wednesday Night Warrior. I kind of just wanted to let it all out, let my thoughts go. I didn't get to do constructive criticism this week because of how tired we were driving back, as well as first day of school, which I want to give a huge shout out to my wife and all the teachers out there that are starting school right now. Teachers are amazing. You should support the teachers in your community because their job is really hard. But yeah, that's it for this week. Don't forget to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/ccmtg to become a patron of this and all of our other Magic content. Also, don't forget to check out puremtg.com and MTGO Traders, the place where Wednesday Night Warrior lives. We really appreciate the Pure MTGO. It really helps me by being able to post this Magic content there. So thank you so much to everybody watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys all next time.